1. I'm not sure if that is, yeah, that'll work. We're good. Okay, so mute.
All right, now. Making noise. To mute. Just unmute.
Okay. Okay.
And I will not presume to put this on your jacket.
That's where it's suggested. A lapel mic. Actually, I'm going to do this side. Test.
Start over. I love it. Okay. So we're just gonna. Do you want to just go sequentially as they?
Yes, that's what I was planning. And then the only one we skip, of course, is the blueberry.
Yep. And we'll make sure we're on the same page. So we have
Yeah, that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll start with double. Yeah.
And we're gonna play all of them repeats as written, except for Aria, which we're gonna play through twice.
Okay. So
Yes. Does that sound right to you?
yeah.
Or do you want to just play them all as written?
Yeah, it does.
As long as we remember just the second one we do twice. That'd be
Yes.
the second
Yes,
one.
second one we have. Okay.
Otherwise,
2 minutes.
It's nice getting this kind of warm up before we start.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you're using the screen today.
oh, yeah, does it help when you're,
Oh yeah, that's kind of underused, that thing. So.
well, I almost never speak with a presentation.
Okay.
But in this position, I almost always do. So it's, it's been a switch for me.
All right. All right.
So
One moment. Ah, there we go. Good morning. My name is Sue Ann Lang, and I am your service coordinator this morning, and I am pleased to be here with you today. First, thank you for that lovely music as they snuck out the door. That was, oh, there's Dan. Anyway, it's so thank you, JC. It was just very enjoyable, very good way to start the morning with this bright sunny day. We are first just so excited to have Erica Iverson here today. She is the niece of a longtime friend who has since passed of all souls, Barb Iverson. If you go that way on Cliff Avenue, you will see the Barb Iverson skate park being built at the corner of Cliff Avenue and 10th Street. So it's in progress. I think they plan on it being opened this spring or early summer, so that's pretty cool. Thank you to all those who have helped make this service possible. Some of you say, oh, it was nothing. Well, every little bit helps when you're in a small congregation, so thank you very much. Let me just think for a second here. Again, welcome. We are so glad you're here today. And just as a heads up, we are working really hard to have our announcements come in early so we can have them printed so that individuals can take it home with them. Sometimes we're not necessarily really great listeners, or maybe I should speak for myself. And so it helps to have it in a printed form. So if you have something, don't hesitate to send it to the administrator, and Mary will make sure it gets printed in this centerfold. The only other announcement I have been told about is just a thank you for all those who helped serve the banquet on Thursday night. It was a grand turnout. We had plenty of preppers. Thank you to those individuals. I'm not seeing any of them here, but thank you. And then we had an abundance of people willing to help serve our guests. And we always partner with Spirit of Peace. They took the lead this time. They had a huge amount of children there. So as people came in, we just kind of said, you know, we're good. Just go home. I was able to reach Joy beforehand. Some of those I didn't reach. Liz, thank you for being there. It was a wonderful thing. Usually we're short. And we will be taking the lead in this coming early summer. So we'll try to get that on the calendar as soon as possible so you can write it down. So those are the only announcements that I have. John has one, it looks like. Do you want the podium or you want the mic? Okay.
Thank you, Sue. The All Souls Church, I'm the president of All Souls Church, and we just had our mid-year meeting, and we're going into the second half of the year, and I want to make a plea to the members. All Souls Church has a very good mission. Some of it is to serve human wholeness, and we do this, all of our work, through teams. And one of the problems is during COVID, the teams disintegrated, and we had a lot of problem getting things back organized. A lot of stuff got done, but it got done here and there. And as we try to restructure to return to the concept of teams working, we need help. And there are a couple of teams in particular that I feel very strongly about. One is fellowship, and the other is outreach. The 7 principles brought all of you into All Souls, but it's the fellowship and outreach that's going to keep you here. The Sunday service is also a very important part of that. But we have quite a number of teams. All but one of them are focused on us. Those are all about us. Membership, pledge, the Sunday service, all of those, fellowship, they're all about us. The outreach team is where we concern ourselves with the community. And that team right now needs a lot of help. We're down to about 3 members, and we've got a lot of things. There's the banquet that goes on, that we just had. We want to have a float in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We participate in the Festival of Cultures, the Pride Festival, the Trunk or Treat, Holiday Appeal, the Rosebud. We're trying to establish a working relationship with the local school.
Horseman. Horseman.
Horseman, that's right. I was going to say Harvey Dunn. I knew it started with an H, and I knew it wasn't Harvey Dunn. But anyway, all of those things need help. We only have about 40 members that are local. The rest we're from Pittsburgh to California. So we need a lot of help. And I'm here as a plea to ask you, please, if you have any interest, especially the outreach team, if you have any interest in the community, in helping the community, then we can't do everything for everybody, but we can do something for somebody. And if you have, and you don't have to be a member. All of you who are friends and visitors who would like to participate in All Souls and support our work, I'd encourage you to do that. I want to thank you very much. Kind of took up a bit of your time, Sue Ann, but I thank you for that
That's fine.
opportunity.
We're okay.
Hi, folks. I'm Eric. After the service today in the back library, there will be a short class meeting on UU history, the history of our church, and what it takes to be a member. So if you're interested in the library, immediately following the service, there will be a coffee pot there.
Coffee is important here. Coffee is important. Any other announcements? Okay, let's move on then. At this time, I'd invite Carol to help us transition with the prelude. Thank you, Carol. Our chalice reading today is from the back of our hymnal. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Albert Schweitzer. Our first song today is number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has drawn us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from greed to you. You can change the world through your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Our first reading today is on your insert. It's called Hope Rises. And just a little history before we do this. This is written by a friend of All Souls, John Behrens, and then Rebecca Ann Parker, and they wrote a book called Lifting Our Voices, The Promise of Progressive Religion in the 21st Century. And I got this from the worship web, and I just thought it fit for today. So it is on the insert. We're going to do this like a call and response. I'll read one line, and then you follow with the next line. Okay? Hope rises.
It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow.
Hope longs.
It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace.
Hope remembers.
It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before, and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death.
Hope acts.
It acts to bless, to protect, and to prepare.
Thank you. Our story is not the Cactus Cafe. Erica, our guest speaker, has found a story which sounds like it's quite appropriate. So I would invite the children to come up at this time and join Erica.
Hi. Hey there. Is this a good spot? Okay. We'll see how this works. You can tell me after if it was appropriate. Hi. That's great. Oh, that makes sense. Those kinds of friends are special. So this book is called Sometimes When I'm Sad, and it was written by a woman named Deborah Serrani. So I'll read it this way for you so you can see the pictures. Sometimes when I'm sad, I cry. Sometimes I hide. Sometimes I even throw my toys. Sometimes when I'm sad, nothing helps me feel happy, not even presents or ice cream or a basket full of bunnies. You see it? Yeah. What's that? Do you like bunnies? It's perfect. Sometimes when I'm sad, I want to sleep all day or just sit on the couch doing nothing at all. One day, I met a counselor. She helps children learn about feelings. She said sometimes sadness can get so big that it takes up all the space where happiness should be. So I learned how to make my sad feelings smaller. She told me it's okay to cry, and it's okay to hide, but not for a long time. She said if the sadness won't go away, I can talk about it with a grown-up who loves me, or with my friends, or with her. I learned that I can draw the sadness I feel with crayons. Instead of throwing my toys, I can throw a ball really hard. I can run and jump outside, and I can squish and squash clay. Holding something soft or warm can help me feel better. So can listening to nice sounds like rain falling, birds singing, or music I love. Or sniffing a good smell like flowers, fruit, or fresh air. Or tasting healthy food. Even spending time with nature can make my sadness go away. So I tried a lot of these things, and she was right. Now when I get sad, I still cry sometimes, and I still hide sometimes, but only for a little while. Because now I know ways to feel better. So that's the end. That's great. Holding hands is a good way to help feel better too, isn't it? So does that story make sense to you? Do you sometimes feel sad? Does it help when you do something? Like go outside or find someone to talk to? The place where I work, some of what we do is help a lot of adults who still struggle with those big feelings get connected to help that can help them break up those big feelings or help them manage them. So some of what we hope is that as kids, you get comfortable being familiar with those feelings and knowing what you can do to help address them. Do you do something special when you get sad? What do you do? That's okay. You don't have to. I go play. He snuggles. That's a good trick. I play with my dogs.
He likes this. He was showing you.
Yeah.
Showing you.
Perfect.
I'm
Well,
gonna sit on my lap right now.
that's a good place to be. I just wanted to make sure that today everybody, even the adults who listen to this book, even though I showed you the pictures, got to hear about sadness and different ways to address it. And not all of those things help all the time. But if doing a few things and finding the things that help you can help you get the space you need to make more room for the happiness. So I'll let you go with that. Thank you for coming up here, sitting with me.
Let's sing our children out. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere. This is the time in our service that we call our sharing our joys and concerns. It's a tradition here at All Souls. We'll take a rock out of our bowl of rocks, which have been gathered from Camp Unistar, one of our UU camps. And you can warm it in your hand and just put it in our bowl of water. Or you may actually lift up that specific joy or concern that you have during this past week. Or maybe it's something that you know is on the horizon that you would feel comfortable sharing. I'm going to start today. A past member of our congregation is quite ill at the present time, and I'd like to lift up that I'm concerned about that individual and the family. It's going to be a real rocky time for them. So here's lifting that concern up. I'd invite you to come up as you would like.
I have some concern for several people, particularly my friend Judy, who's in the hospital right now for some reason, and she's one of them. I have some wishes for some other people to do quite well wherever they're gonna go. Marge, who lived down the hall from me, and Gertrude, as they both are doing well wherever they're going, and I hope that in their future they find some happiness as well.
Hi, my name's Dan. I noticed that our principle today is number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. And I was thinking of the International Court of Justice that this week made a determination that the people in Gaza now need healing. Helpline, this is the world saying these people need help. It's time for compassion. And so I'm just lifting that up and praying that indeed that will happen, and soon.
Hi, I'm Scott. I just wanted to talk about survival. So far, I have survived 63 rotations of our planet around the sun. Now, if I can just make it one galactic year.
Okay, that's fine, Chuck.
You've heard me. No, I'm Chuck. I'm a member of this church. You've heard me brag about my daughter for years. You know, she did this and she did that and everything. Well, it's a culmination of all those years she told us about over Christmas. And I haven't been there since then. I've had some hospital things that are not important. But, you know, she secured position at the University of Denver as professor of Japanese starting in the fall. So all these years of work have come to something. I'm very proud of her.
Trade you here.
A couple months ago was the first time we came to this church, and we lifted up our concern that our school had just announced that it was going to close. And I am very joyful to announce that we have found a space and a place, and my kids will be starting school again on Monday. So I'm very, very relieved about that.
I forgot one more thing. I like to share my joys and concern for my wife Jennifer, as she endeavors in a new future. Will include showing off her beautiful teeth again. So that'll be nice.
At this time, I'd ask that you just pause for a moment and reflect on everything that has been said here this morning, and maybe those things that haven't been said but are out there. A moment. I'd invite you to come back. Our next song is number 128, For All That Is Our Life. I'd invite you to stand.
All that is our life, we sing and praise the praise. We owe that life a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make your own days glad. For work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must hear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good. And your own days glad.
Thank you. At this time, I'd welcome our guest speaker, Erica Iverson, who's going to be telling us about the Helpline and where they're at today.
Hi, thanks for having me. Bring my water up. So my name's Erica Iverson. I didn't grow up in Sioux Falls, but I grew up coming to Sioux Falls. My parents both grew up here, and I graduated from Augustana a while ago now. So I lived away for about 20 years in Atlanta, East Africa, and New York, doing work with refugees and refugee resettlement. And when I was in New York, I went back to school. In Atlanta, I got a master's of theological studies and then started working with refugees. I have most of my PhD in political science, unlike your daughter. I did not complete. But I've been back in Sioux Falls since just before the pandemic and have been really happy to be back. So I started with the Helpline Center in June, doing community development, and this is a new position, which might seem surprising. The Helpline Center has grown very, very quickly in a short amount of time. We've been around for a minute, and we'll get to that, but we went from about 20 employees to 70 in less than a year and a half. So there are still some hiccups in how we're doing that, but I'm now working in community development, and I'm very, very happy to be with you today. So this is an example of one of our cubicles where calls come in. It's a floor of well-lit. There's windows in our building. It's a nice space, but everybody has who answers calls has this many monitors in front of them. So if you call 211 or 988, somebody will answer and have the ability to work with you and have resources in front of them. This is our mission statement: to make lives better by giving support, offering hope, and creating connections all day, every day. And this is long by mission statement standards, but it's special in a number of ways. And it's the all day, every day that gets a lot of what we do. We are available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. And when there is weather on the way, if there is a forecast of challenging weather, and weather where we might lose power, we have ways to work around that and prepare for it, so that even during the derechos, we had people answering the phones throughout. So in those moments, we have prepared so that we can be available to those who need us. We have 17 programs at the Helpline Center. The two that people are most familiar with and that are funded directly by the state with pass-through grants from the federal government are the 211 Helpline, which will help connect a caller to community resources, and the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And we'll get into some of those in a little more detail. But we have 3 pillars of programming. So community resources, suicide and crisis support, and volunteer opportunities and connections. And part of how all of this happened, how you end up with an organization with these 3 different types of programming, is through our history. So I can come back to this, but we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And it's fun for us. This is not from the beginning. This is from the 80s. We started in 74, and this is probably when we were 10 years old. In the building, I just forgot the name of it. It burned down.
It's on Green.
Yeah. So it was a downtown building. It burned down. Hanson Building, maybe something like that. But this was a picture from before that fire. And but the person who founded the Helpline Center didn't initially intend to found the Helpline Center. So Fern Chamberlain, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Fern. She's a real big deal for South Dakota and for who we are at the Helpline Center. She was the first Masters of Social Work in the state. And she worked for the state securing funds and programs to help support and lift people out of poverty. She got frustrated while working for the government, which you might imagine is a thing. And she went to work for LSS. And while at LSS, helped write the grant that started what is now Active Generations. And in 1974, that was the year that the Wounded Knee trials were starting. There was a need with influx of people coming into the state, particularly Native American folks, during those trials, to have an information clearinghouse. There were a lot of rumors floating around, and she wanted a way for people to get the truth and get some clear information. And so she started answering phones and got a few other social workers to help start answering phones, and that was the beginning of what is now the Helpline Center. We've gone through a few different names, but Volunteer and Information Center is probably the one that most closely encapsulated what it is that we actually did and do. So connecting people. We don't use volunteers on our own very frequently. We have a few events during the year where the Helpline Center will actually have volunteers present. But most of what we do with regard to volunteers is connect people who want to volunteer to the organizations that are looking for them. So we serve as a connection center more than a nonprofit that uses volunteer help. So 211 became a national number in 2001, and it went statewide in South Dakota in 2020. So it's been a process. It's been a protected number for a while, but we started answering the calls for the entire state in 2020. As of 2017, close to 95% of the population in the United States, including Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., has access to 211. More than 200 agencies provide 211 services. So we are the provider in the state of South Dakota. This helps a little. I brought a paper version of this, but I brought the Spanish version. So if you would like the Spanish version, I have that for you. I can also get this for you. This helps explain a little bit of how our numbers work together. South Dakota is one of the few places in the United States that has a long and good history of 211, 988, and 911 working well together. We don't compete, we have warm handoffs. So if we receive a call at 211 that would be better suited for 988, which is a call for crisis and emotional distress, we can transfer that person. And what we mean by warm handoff is we don't just send them over and they might sit on hold. We speak to the person that we will be sending them to, let them know what's happening, and bring the caller along with us. Similarly with 911. If somebody calls 988 and has done something to hurt themselves already, or is in danger of hurting someone else, we would call 911 and conduct a warm transfer. 911 has sent a number of calls our way as well, calls that come in that are not yet emergencies and where somebody just needs emotional support and a de-escalation. So we assist in that as well. So we are lucky in a lot of ways that we have such a good relationship with the city, both at Metro, so at 911, but also in disaster response, in disaster management. So these are some of the programs that exist under the community resources pillar. 211 Helpline. Oh, this one I might have stuck under a couple. Substance use and care coordination. So for people who are looking to stop using the substances they're currently on, we have support for that. We can help people get connected to the services they need, help to get their homes safe, and we provide support throughout their process as long as they want it. Everything that we're doing, people opt into. We don't force our services on anybody, and nobody is required to participate. We have caregiver support and elder support. So the elder support is only funded right now in the Sioux Empire area, so in the 4 counties in and around Sioux Falls. But caregiver support is available statewide. So if you know somebody who is taking care of a loved one at home and could use some additional support, we have trained mental health professionals who will call, check in. Sometimes that check-in is just a conversation, just chatting and checking in. And sometimes it requires something a little more serious conversation. And we can help connect them to people who can provide them more intense support should they need it. And sometimes all they need is that weekly phone call. So we have different ways in which we can interact with folks, and we meet people where they're at. They tell us what they need or want, and we work with that. We offer childcare assistance. That doesn't mean funding. This is much like the connections of volunteers to organizations. We connect childcare providers and folks who are looking for childcare. We do this for the state of South Dakota, but most of our work is in the larger cities, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, and then some of the larger cities in eastern South Dakota. So we were very much involved in aspects of the recent apple tree closure announcements, but then reopening, and then unclear where we're headed. But we've been working with the city throughout that process to be prepared. And one of the unlikely benefits of that upheaval was that other area providers have gotten in touch with us. So we now have better, more updated information. And we are actively reaching out all the time, but people are busy. And that's not always a thing that they're available to do. So our database is much more accurate right now, and we can help place infants or connect folks. There's some hardships, and we can talk about that after if people want more information. We have a fall prevention service. We often get referrals from Sioux Falls Fire and Rescue. If somebody is calling for assistance getting up, and it happens, is starting to happen kind of frequently, they'll suggest getting in touch with us or having us call them and ask if that's okay to give their number to us. We can do site visits or home visits in Sioux Falls, and we can provide support across the state. The network of care is an interesting closed loop referral service for social services and some medical providing services. And it works between Sioux Falls, Watertown, and Brookings, so that people who are seeking social services often have to give the same information over and over and over and over, sometimes in lengthy applications. So this closed loop referral service allows people to opt in to share. So if I'm working with somebody at a homeless shelter and we're now looking to find them more permanent housing, I can ask, will you allow me to share the information you've already provided so you don't have to do that again? So it's just a way to help ease people through processes, and it also allows caseworkers to move information and provide notes that will be helpful for the next person. Our suicide and crisis support services include 988, but we also provide grief support for those who have experienced loss due to suicide. We provide prevention trainings, and these trainings, we are funded for them, but we don't charge to provide them. So if your congregation wants to host a QPR training, a question, persuade, and refer, that's a 1 to 2 hour training that helps people, and I think it's particularly helpful in the Midwest, become more aware and more familiar about how important it is to ask the question, are you considering suicide? That you will never be putting that idea in somebody else's head. You don't make it possible by asking the question, and you open up a conversation. If they are not thinking about that, people will say, no, that's not what I'm thinking about. And it helps put things in perspective. And if it is something that they're thinking about, there will be a relief that they don't have to bring that up, and they can say, yeah, I've really been struggling. I think I need help. So being trained just to ask a question that feels so big it's a really important training, and the label itself is not our favorite. Question, persuade. Persuade to what? They wanted it to be close to CPR. So CPR, QPR, because it should be that basic. It's a basic form of mental first aid. We do also provide mental health first aid trainings, and we do that at our offices, we do that on Zoom, and we do that at locations as requested. So we've done that at businesses, at schools, on college campuses. I just attended one in our offices last week and had HR departments from multiple local businesses, some pastors, and then folks from some social service agencies. This is a little bit more intense, the Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. You'll hear it referred to as ASSIST. That provides you a little bit more structured training and more role-playing opportunities to practice those skills. And that's a 2-day training. Should you be interested, visit our website or email training@helplinecenter.org, and we'll either get you connected to an existing training, or if you have enough folks, we can set one up for you. And like I said, that doesn't just have to be here. That's at school, work, whatever. There are age requirements for some of these trainings, so there's some we can do with youth, but many of these will be for adults and up. We do also have hospital outreach. So a lot of the folks that end up in our hospital outreach program have been released from hospitals for having either attempted suicide or having suicidal ideation. And this, again, too, is something that they opt into. Would you like somebody to check on you after you are released? And sometimes they say yes at the time, get the phone call, and they're like, nah, that is not what I want. And that's fine. But if it is what somebody wants, we provide, I think it ends up being 5 or 6 phone calls scheduled with regular questions, kind of checking in on whether somebody has a safety plan, if they're still having suicidal thoughts and how often. And it's these conversations are very matter of fact. And it can be shocking when it's not a conversation that you hear frequently, but it's also really reassuring to know there are people out there that can have these conversations, and that people who are struggling with these thoughts are willing to talk. So it's the tabooness of it, of the subject, is part of what makes it so hard to have the conversations that are life-saving. And here's some pictures from some of our volunteer programming. We host the Spirit of Volunteerism Awards one in Sioux Falls and one in Rapid City every year. In the Sioux Falls event recognizes we usually have about 500 people attend. We just honor and celebrate volunteerism in the community. Volunteer Now is a program that we have do-it-yourself projects on our website. So if you've got a bunch of extra, I don't know, when my Aunt Barb died, we found a lot of fleece. So I have now made a lot of tie blankets out of her fleece, which she'd be very glad that that's what it went toward. If I wasn't going to go and sew them properly, then that's a good use of them. But we list opportunities, things that you can do from your own home or in your own organizations. The Serve and Learn Student Association, we have a plow this year. I did see it on Kelloland after the first major snow. And that's a picture, they painted that plow at our office, which is over near 49th and Kiwanis. SALSA is in 8 now area schools and helps track volunteer hours for students. We organize monthly SALSA-wide events, but also monthly meetings where there's a volunteer project as part of their meeting. These kids are phenomenal. They love getting out in the community. A lot of the kids that volunteer with us also don't regularly come to a meeting, but they get organized by the other folks. So they get connected to volunteer opportunities in the city. And we have a number of students that have achieved greater than 50 hours of volunteer time in the year, and a few that have hit 200. Our Volunteer of the Month series, we celebrate one volunteer each month and just recognize them in the community, and we have community sponsors in both Sioux Falls and Rapid City. So I thought I put a dog up here. The kids are already gone. I should have had it up for them. This is not my dog, but it was the dog that fit in that picture. My dogs did not sit still and they were blurry. But should you ever have a question, I am available and happy to help. This is all my direct information, my direct telephone and my email. But also to reach any of us, and Sue Ann knows this, you can call 211 and just say, I'd like to speak to Erica. She works in the community. They'll send you to me. There are 2 Ericas that work there. The other one, should you get her, she's very nice and she'll find me. I am happy to stick around afterwards and answer questions. And I have, just so that you're aware, the ability to show you some of how our website works. Everything that I talked about, anything that you might call for, like for community resources, you can do through our website, but it can be a little involved, so I prefer to call and get help. But a lot of our caseworkers in the community will go through our website and create their own worksheets. And we also post all of our data, all anonymized, for sure, but just so you can see. In 2023, our 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline had 10,809 contacts. So we receive calls, texts, and chat over the web. So we can speak to folks multiple ways. And you can see there, most of those were phone calls. We did get texts. Usually when we're getting texts, those are from teenagers. And then we do get a few chatting with us online. Some of those folks are regular callers. They're very, very familiar to us. And others we only speak to once. But you can also see how we work with other. So 200 of those calls were transferred from 211. Almost 300 were transferred from 911. That means 911 received a call that they determined no one was at immediate risk or in immediate emergency crisis, but that they should still be talking to somebody, and transferred them to us. So All of this is available on our website. It's not buried deep, but you got to know where to go. So I'm happy to talk about all of this, and I know I've been talking for a little while, but I'm very, very happy to be here and happy to speak with you afterwards.
Oh, thank you so much, Erica. In another lifetime, I was a Helpline volunteer and actually ran what was called the Volunteer and Information Center, the volunteer part of it, and answered crisis calls. So excited to see where it has come in the last few years. So, well, at this time, you have an opportunity to give back to our community. I know many of you contribute hours, but here's an opportunity to give back with your coins and change. And half of our loose change offering that isn't a check actually is given to a nonprofit here in town, and it's written down where it's going this month. I cannot keep up with it. So, and once again, we'll be entertained or yes. Thank you. I'd ask you at this time to join in these words in your bulletin about how we receive our offering. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And just a few words in closing, and then we'll extinguish the chalice. This is from the back of our hymnal. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We believe that each and every person is important. We affirm and promote justice, equity, compassion in human relations. Thank you. Our words we use as we extinguish the chalice are in your bulletin. The chalice is extinguished, but the light goes with us out into the world. I'd invite you all to join us for coffee and who knows what else is downstairs. And then we will reconvene back up here for those of you who would like for a what we call circle discussion and ask Erica questions if we have them, or ask her to flesh out something maybe a little bit more. So enjoy your coffee. About 20 after probably. Yeah, 15 minutes, that ought to do it. And you may bring your coffee upstairs. That was a perfect story. Oh, absolutely. You know, it's one of, kids have all these big emotions, but they never, they may never know it's okay to have big emotions.
Well, I'd say